Welcome to Drive the Daf, clear, structured explanation of the daily daf in 20 minutes. You can even follow in the car.
The Shabbos Daf Pei Zayin is devoted almost entirely to a discussion of the machlokes between Rabbi Yossi and the Rabbanon as to what day of the month of Sivan was Kabbalas HaTorah, Shavuos Ma'amad Har Sinai. When exactly did it happen? Was it on the 6th of the month of Sivan or the 7th of the month of Sivan? So we will review what exactly the machlokes is and how it's set up, how the two opinions understand the chronology of events leading up to the Sinaitic revelation, and then the Gemara is going to bring a long list of attempted proofs to one of the two opinions. We'll first have two proofs against Rabbi Yossi and then a number of proofs against the Rabbanon. The problem with most of them is that they'll be from a Brisa, and the Rabbanim themselves are Tanaim, so they'll just say that Brisa is Rabbi Yossi. Now we'll have a brief interruption in between these proofs where the Gemara will list the three things which Moshe did on his own, based on his own understanding, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed with him. Okay, so first of all, what is the machlokes exactly? So the machlokes between the Rabbanan and Rabbi Yossi involves the week leading up to Har Sinai. So we had the beginning of the week, Klal Yisrael arrived in Midbar Sinai. Then we had 3 days of conversation, 3 days of messages back and forth between Hashem and Klal Yisrael taken by Moshe. Then we had a brief time of separation where the men had to separate from the women, as we discussed in the daf yesterday. And then we finally got to the day of Har Sinai. So the question is, how does this chronology work? So we had as follows. The 3 days of conversation were as follows. On the first day after they arrived, Moshe came to Klal Yisrael based on Hashem's instructions, and he said, "Atem tiyuli mamlechas kayanim v'goy kadosh, you will be a holy nation," and he encouraged Klal Yisrael to accept the Torah. He went back to Hashem, and he came back, and he said the instructions of marking off the mountain so that nobody should go up. Then he went back to Hashem, and he came back and he said the instructions of separating the men from the women. Now those 3 things had to each happen on 3 separate days, because as we learned in the daf yesterday, Moshe only went up to Shemayim in the first thing in the morning. So each time he went to speak to Hashem, it was a new morning. So those 3 things are 3 days. Now none of them happened on the day that they arrived. That was the day before. So the question is, what day did they arrive? So everybody agrees it was Rosh Chodesh Sivan. That is clear. The question is, was it a Sunday or a Monday? If it was a Sunday, so then the 3 days of conversation were Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On Wednesday, they were given the order to separate from the wives, and they separated for the entire Thursday, the entire Friday, meaning half of Wednesday, the entire Thursday, the entire Friday, and then the Torah was given on Shabbos. Everybody agrees that the Torah was given on Shabbos. And the separation, according to this opinion, therefore this was Rabbi Yossi, the separation was for 2 days. That's where the flexibility is over here. According to Chachamim, the Rabbanon, they arrived on a Monday. Rosh Chodesh was Monday. The 3 days of discussion were Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. On Thursday, the order to separate was given. There was only 1 full day of separation. That was Friday. And the Torah was given on Shabbos, meaning everybody agrees the Torah was given on Shabbos, and everybody agrees that they arrived on Rosh Chodesh. The question was it Sunday, and then there was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then there was 2 days of separation, or was it Monday? And then the 3 days were Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then there was only 1 day of separation. That is the opinion of the Chachamim, the last one. So the Gemara has 2 ways of bringing proofs here, since there are 2 differences in what they hold. We could either bring a proof what day of the week Rosh Chodesh was, that would be some of the proofs, or we could bring a proof as to how long the separations were. If we could prove that the separations were 2 full days, plus the half of the day that was received, the order, then we would know that is a proof to Rabbi Yossi. If, however, we could prove there was only 1 full day plus the day that the order was received, then it's a proof to the Chachamim. So the Gemara begins by proving just that. The Gemara says, when Hashem told Moshe to separate, he said, Viki dashnam hayom u'machar, separate today and tomorrow. That means that there was that day and 1 other full day. So how could Rabbi Yossi say that there were 2 full days? So Rabbi Yossi says, the Gemara says that Moshe Rabbeinu added 1 day of his own understanding. Even though Hashem said to separate for a half a day plus 1 more day, Moshe added another day. So Hashem said separate on Wednesday and Thursday. Moshe added Friday, and the Torah was therefore received on Shabbos. Now, the Gemara explains this by bringing a brisa which says that there were 3 things which Moshe did on his own, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu agreed with his understanding. Moshe didn't make them up. He understood from what he was told that that's what he was supposed to do, even though it's not specifically what was said. What were the 3 things? Number 1, he added a day of separation. Number 2, he divorced his own wife. He left his wife permanently. And number 3, he broke the luchos. Now, how do you know that? How did he do all these 3 things, and how do you know that Hashem agreed? So, first of all, how do you know to add a day? Because Hashem said to him, "V'kidashtam hayom u'machar," separate today and tomorrow. That means that today should be like tomorrow. Just like tomorrow is a night and a day, today should also be a night and a day. But you can't have today be a night and a day because the night already passed. So that means we have to have 2 full days, night and day. When it says today and tomorrow, it doesn't mean today and tomorrow. It means tomorrow and the next day. Because you need a night and a day, and today we can't do that anymore. Therefore, he understood that it was referring to Thursday and Friday, and he added Friday, and he didn't receive the Torah till Shabbos. That's all of Yossi's opinion. Now, how do you know that Hashem agreed with him? Because the Shekhinah didn't actually come to Har Sinai until Shabbos. Okay, now why did he separate from his wife? So he made the following drasha. It says, Hashem told Klal Yisrael that they have to separate from their wives, and Hashem only spoke to them once. And Hashem told them exactly when he's going to speak to them. So that Hashem speaks to me all the time, and I never know when it's going to happen, I certainly have to separate from my wife all the time. And he did. So the Gemara says, how do you know that Hashem agreed with him? Because after Har Sinai, Hashem told everybody, Shuvu lachem aleichem, go back to your tents, go home, which means go back to your wives. But to Moshe, it didn't say that. To Moshe, he said, you come, stay here together with me. Another proof that Hashem agreed with him is because he said, Pe el pe adaber, boy, I speak to him face to face, mouth to mouth. This is when Miriam had complained why Moshe divorced his wife, and Hashem defended Moshe's actions by saying that I speak to him all the time, mouth to mouth, and therefore he cannot be married like everyone else. Okay, now the third thing Moshe did on his own was that he broke the luchos. The Gemara says, why did he do that? So the Gemara says he came up with the following drasha. It says that no one is allowed to eat from the carbon Pesach if they are mumor, if they do avodah zarah, if they are ben and nechar, they're alienated. So here, the entire Klal Yisrael are mumrim. They all did avodah zarah. Certainly, they cannot have anything to do with the luchos, which contains the entire Torah, not just the carbon Pesach. Now, how do we know that Hashem agreed to that? Because he said, Asher Shibarta. Asher is like from the word Ishur, meaning to verify, to certify. And he said, I'm certifying that which you did. Asher Shibarta, that which you broke, I'm certifying that which you broke. Yasher Kochacha Asher Shibarta, thank you for breaking the luchos. It was the right thing to do. Okay, this is the end of the 3 things which Moshe did on his own. Now we go back to the list of proofs to Rabbi Yossi, or against Rabbi Yossi first, and then against the Chacham. So the next proof against Rabbi Yossi is that when Hashem told Moshe which will be the day of the receiving of the Torah, he said, Hayu nechonim la'yom hashlishi, be ready for the 3rd day. That would seem to indicate that there was only one middle day. There was today where they have to be separated. There's tomorrow where they stay separated, and then on the 3rd day they get the Torah. So that means there was only one full day of separation, not 2. So Gemara says that we already answered this. We already said that's what Hashem said, but Moshe added a day on his own. We can even fit that in. Rashi says because when Moshe spoke to the people, he said, be ready for 3 days. That means leave a 3-day separation. Don't just be ready for the 3rd day. Slightly change the wording there. Okay, now the Gemara brings a proof to Rabbi Yossi against a Chacham. And we have a couple of brises over here. So the first one says that the 3rd day, the Gemara will explain 3rd day of what? The 3rd day was also the 3rd day of the week and the 3rd day of the month. Here we're referring to Sivan. So obviously, we're saying that the 3rd day of Sivan was on a Tuesday. That being the case, the 1st day of Sivan had to have been on a Sunday. That's a clear proof to Rabbi Yossi, who says Rosh Chodesh was on a Sunday, not the Chachamim who say Rosh Chodesh was on a Monday. So Gemara first of all says this is not going to be a problem because that's a brisa. The brisa is Rabbi Yossi, and the Chachamim disagree. So the Gemara now says, what did you mean when he said the 3rd day? The 3rd day of what? So the Gemara has a brisa. The brisa indicates that the third day means the third day of the discussions between Moshe, Hashem, and Klal Yisrael, where Moshe was trying to convince Klal Yisrael to accept the Torah. And the brisa spells out what the nature of the conversations were. The brisa discusses the psukim here, and it has three approaches to how you read the psukim. The psukim say as follows: Vayashav Moshe es divrei ha'amel Hashem. Moshe Vayashav, he brought back the words of the people to Hashem. It uses the word Vayashav. That's important. Later it says Vayaged Moshe es divrei ha'amel Hashem. Moshe told the words of the people to Hashem. What are these two different languages? Vayashav, Vayaged. What does this mean? What did who say to who? So the Gemara says the first approach is Rabbi Yosi bar Rabbi Yehuda, who says this is referring to the mitzvah to separate the mountain, to mark it off. Now, Rebbe and the Ikeda Amri have similar but opposing approaches as to how we explain it. The word Vayashav and Vayaged. One of them refers to the discussion that Moshe had where he told Klal Yisrael about the mitzvos and the reward for the mitzvah, and one is referring to where he spoke about the punishment for doing things wrong. The question is, which is which? Vayashav and Vayaged, which is which? So, Rabbi says Vayashav refers to the punishments from the word shovev, which means things that make you refuse. Like a shovav is someone who refuses to cooperate. So Vayashav means he told them the punishments. Vayaged means things which attract them. That was the rewards, like the word Vayaged, like agada, which attract people. And then the other approach, which is the Ikeda Amri, the Brisa says has it the other way. Vayashav is things which are meshiv leiv. They make a person settled. They restore your thoughts. And Vayaged means things which are hard to swallow, like gidin, which Rashi says are bitter herbs. Okay. Now, we have, so that resolves that issue. Again, the proof was that it says that the third day of the week was also the third day of the month, and we said that is Rabbi Yosi, but the Chachamim do not agree. Now we have another brisa. This one says that the sixth day of the week was also the sixth day of the month. It was the sixth day, which is the sixth day of the week, and the sixth of the month. So the Gemara says, okay, not a problem again. It's also Rabbi Yosi. Now the Gemara says, hold on a second. The sixth day of what? What could that possibly mean? It couldn't mean the sixth day of discussions, because the discussions didn't go on for 6 days. So the Gemara has two explanations here. Rava and Rav Acha bar Yaakov. Rava says it was the sixth day since they camped at Har Sinai. That's what it's referring to. Rav Acha bar Yaakov says it's the sixth day from when they left their previous encampment. Now, what does he mean? He means that they left their previous encampment, which was at Mara, and they arrived in Midbar Sinai, which was Refidim, at the same day. Now, how does that work? So Rav Acha bar Yaakov says, at Mara, they were given the halachos of Shabbos. Everybody agrees. Mara, they were given the halachos of Shabbos, like it says, Sham Samach Chokum Mishpat. Question is, were they also given the rule not to travel outside 2,000 amas on Shabbos? According to Rav Acha bar Yaakov, they were not given that rule, and therefore they left that very same day. That was a Shabbos, and they left that day. And that same day, they arrived in Midbar Sinai, and therefore you can start counting from then. According to Rava, however, they were given the rule not to travel, and therefore they couldn't travel that day. And they only traveled the next day, and therefore they arrived in Midbar Sinai a day later, and therefore the 6 days are 6 days from then. Okay, now we're up to the next proof. Now, the next few proofs require an understanding of how the months of the calendar work in the Jewish year. So here's a brief introduction. There are 345 days in the year in the Jewish calendar. Divided by 12 months gives you 30 and a half days per month. And you can't have half a day, so what we have alternating 29 and 30 day months. Usually, you have a 29-day month, followed by a 30-day month, followed by a 29-day month, leaving 6 months of 29 days and 6 months of 30 days per year. Sometimes it changes, and you could have 7 and 5 or 8 and 4. Now, generally Nisan is a 30-day month, and Iyar, which is the month that follows, is a 29-day month. Based on that, we have a first proof. We have a brisa which says that in Mitzrayim, they brought the carbon Pesach on the 14th, and and they left Mitzrayim on the 15th, and that night the firstborn were destroyed. Gemara says it was that night, and no, it was the night before. Okay, the night before. But the Brisa continues and says that the 15th that year was on a Thursday. Now, if you do the math, if the 15th was on a Thursday, Rosh Chodesh Iyar, which was 16 days later, must have been on a Shabbos. Rosh Chodesh Iyar is on a Shabbos. Now, Nisan had 30 days. Iyar usually has 29 days. That means that Sivan will be one calendar day later, which means that it must be on a Sunday. So that is a clear proof to Rav Yossi, who says that Rosh Chodesh Sivan was on a Sunday. So the Gemara says no. The Rabbanan will tell you that year it happened to be that they made Iyar a 30-day month as well, and therefore Rosh Chodesh didn't come out until Monday. Now the Gemara says, hold on a second. I will bring you a proof that it was not a 30-day Iyar that year. And that is, we have a brisa which is very similar, almost identical to the previous one, except it adds at the end that Nisan was 30 days long, and therefore Rosh Chodesh Iyar was on a Shabbos, and Iyar was 29 days long, and Rosh Chodesh Sivan was on a Sunday. So it clearly, explicitly says that it was not an extra day, and Rosh Chodesh was on a Sunday. So the Gemara says that's Rabbi Yossi. The Chachamim disagree. Okay, now the Gemara has another proof, which is very similar in style, except that this is from Psukim, which makes it a little stronger. We have a pasuk which describes Klal Yisrael arriving in the Midbar and the day that they complained and were promised the mun. And it says that they arrived in Elim on the 15th day of the month of Iyar, the second month from leaving Mitzrayim. Now, that day must have been a Shabbos. How do you know? Because they complained that they didn't have food. And Moshe told them, in the morning you're going to see the mun, you're going to eat it for 6 days, and then it will be Shabbos. So that shows that he was speaking on Shabbos. Then they had 6 days of eating mun coming up until Shabbos, where it wasn't going to fall again. They were going to eat Fridays. So that clearly proves that the 15th of Iyar was a Shabbos. If the 15th of Iyar was a Shabbos, that means that that Rosh Chodesh Sivan, which was exactly 15 days later, must have been 1 weekday later, and that must have been on a Sunday. Doesn't fit with the Chachamim who say that it was on a Monday. So the Gemara says no. That year Sivan had 30 days. That year Iyar had 30 days, and therefore it wasn't till Monday that Rosh Chodesh actually arrived. The next proof is built on a brisa which tells us that the day that the Mishkan was put up was the first day of the month of Nisan of the second year, meaning a year after Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim. The first day of the month of Nisan, the Mishkan was put up. Now the Brisa is going to tell us that was a Sunday. Based on that, we're going to figure out the calendar a year earlier. So first of all, let's see the Brisa. The Brisa says the day that the Mishkan was put up was the first day of the month of Nisan, and it was 10 firsts on that day. First of all, it was a Sunday, first day of the week. Second of all, it was the first of the karbanos brought by the Nisim to inaugurate the Mishkan. Next, it was the first of the days in which Kohanim were Kohanim, not Bechorim, were doing the Avodah. Next, it was the first day of the Korban Tamid. Next, it was the first day that the fire burned on the Mizbeach. It stayed lit forever afterwards. Next, it was the first day that they ate Kodshim in a specific place, in the Mishkan instead of anywhere. Next, it was the first day that the Shechina was in the Mishkan. Next, it was the first day that the Kohanim said Berachos Kohanim for the people. And the ninth thing is that it was the first day that it was forbidden to bring a Karbanis anywhere else. And the last thing is it was the first month of the year, was in the month of Nisan. So there was a lot of firsts. There were 10 firsts. Now, so we clearly see that the day that the Mishkan was put up, the first of the month of Nisan in the second year, was on a Sunday. The Gemara says that every weekday comes out 4 days later in each consecutive year. So if the first of Nisan on the second year was on a Sunday, that means that the year previous, when they left Mitzrayim, the first of Nisan was on a Wednesday. Now, if the first of Nisan was on a Wednesday, that means the 29th of Nisan was also on a Wednesday, which means that the 30th, Nisan always has 30 days, was on a Thursday, which means that Rosh Chodesh Iyar was on a Friday. Rosh Chodesh Iyar was on a Friday, it has 29 days, it means that Rosh Chodesh Sivan must have been on a Shabbos. That's not like Rabbi Yossi or the Chacham. It's neither Sunday nor Monday. So Gemara says that year they had 7 months of 29 days according to Rabbi Yossi, and they had 8 months of 29 days according to the Chachamim. Therefore, when you're calculating backwards from the following year's Rosh Chodesh Nisan, you're going to make a mistake if you think it was on a Wednesday. It wasn't on a Wednesday, it was on a Thursday or on a Friday.
Drive the Daf is a project of the Grand Woodlands Shul and is presented by Rabbi Yitzchak Landa. Find us on YouTube or subscribe to daily emails by emailing drivethedaf@gmail.com.